Hello, I'm Donald Leggett, and welcome to this edition of Share Views, brought to you by London South East. Our guest today is John Wood, CEO of AIM-listed gas storage developer InfraStrata. Greetings, John.
Thank you, Donald. Good to be here again.
Busy times for you, John.
It's lots happening, that's for sure.
Okay, so let's take an overview of the business. Tell me what your strategy is for InfraStrata. I want a holistic overview of where you are with InfraStrata.
Well, I think when I joined the business nearly a year ago now, we looked at the one project that was in the company and thought over time we need to develop more than one project. So we've got 2 or 3 projects in the offing at different stages of completion. Whilst IslandMagee Energy and the gas storage project we've got in IslandMagee is key importance and it'll be the first project that comes online, we're then starting now to look at the next project and the next project and the next project. So really there'll be 4 or 5 projects over the time, all coming together at various stages of development and approval.
But nevertheless, IslandMagee remains the keystone project for you, I presume?
Absolutely. I mean, IslandMagee is a great project. We're really making tremendous strides to monetise the project. We just announced recently the deal with Vitol, which is a key deal, which is a cornerstone.
Key relationship, that one.
Absolutely a key relationship with Vitol. And I think, we're looking to develop that relationship going forward, carry that into other projects if we potentially can,
So where are you with IslandMagee? What are the next steps? You've got a marine licence on the go, you've got equity, you've got debt. Those are the key things. Sum up those key milestones for us.
Well, I think where we are, the equity and the debt, we initially started looking at the project for 2 caverns rather than the whole 7 caverns. It was a key, really major achievement for us getting the offtake agreement for 7 caverns. So whilst we had our debt and equity set up to go for 2 caverns, we're having to go back and rejig that slightly to cover.
No, Vitol came in and said, look, we want to take your entire gas storage capacity.
Absolutely. So rather than doing a little bit, then going back in a year's time or 18 months' time, trying to do another deal for another 5 caverns, we think it's great news that the 7 caverns is tied up at the one time.
Statement of the obvious. Of course you'd want 7 rather than 2.
Absolutely.
But it has changed the timeline a little bit.
Changed the time, not for FID. We're still looking to take FID by the end of this year. We're still making really good progress. We've still got the same people involved that are looking at the project, that have been looking at the project, along with a couple of additional people that have come in. There's nothing that's presenting us any issues. The project's been through due diligence several times, which includes outside people looking at the marine licence and where it's up to. So everybody's relatively happy on the technical side.
Okay.
So there's no showstoppers that we see there.
You mentioned marine licence, so where are you with the marine licence?
I think, as I've said before on the marine licence, these things take time to work through. You have to supply information, that information's verified, and you go through and the marine licence is granted. I asked the question recently to the DERA team if there was any technical reason why they thought there wouldn't be a marine licence issued, and they said no, there wouldn't be technically. But we've obviously still got to go through the consultation process, and that's just part of the issuing a licence. But there's nothing we see as an issue with that. But in preparation for construction, we're now looking at all the baseline surveys and getting them all underway. And we'll try and make them available during that consultation period too. So there's nothing left on the shelf for further down the line, even after the licence is issued. So look, we're doing what we can to push that forward. Obviously, we're working with an official department. They've got their own timescales for doing things. These are not,
that's a good point, these are not your timescales.
They're not.
These are the official department's timescales.
Absolutely.
They are what they are.
They are. But the other thing we're doing is we've been doing monthly sessions with all the local residents in IslandMagee and stakeholders just to fully explain the project, where we're up to, what we're doing.
And what are the folks in IslandMagee like about InfraStrata and the project?
Well, I think that
the folks from the outside are raising concerns, but are the locals happy?
Look, I think you've got 2 different camps. I think you've got one camp that sees the environmental concerns over the brine discharge. And I think when you look at the brine discharge, one of the verifications models that was looked at by HR Wallingford, it's the most in-depth and detailed verification model they've ever looked at. And the discharge is all within the allowed limits. So as far as a technical issue, there is nothing to be concerned about. It is inside acceptable limits. And then you've got the other group of island residents that are looking at the hundreds of jobs that will be created, the money that over 2 billion that will go into the local economy over the years of the lifetime of the
Long-term
project.
stability in a place like Ireland McGee is very important.
Absolutely.
There are not many jobs, and to have long-term employment is a great opportunity for some people.
It is, and one of the ways we're looking at developing this project is looking at the local roads, and we're bringing things in by marine transport to try and keep the traffic off the roads during peak times and things like that. So we're really trying to develop it in a compassionate way for the local
be a good
residents.
neighbours.
We are, absolutely, because
we'll
be there for the next 40 years, Donald, so we want to keep on good terms.
Makes a lot of sense. Debt and equity. Where are you with debt and equity on the project?
We think we're going in the right direction. Are we there yet? No, we're not. We've gone back through, obviously going from 2 caverns as a particular business model that was for a 2-cavern solution. We're now looking at the business model for 7 caverns. The IRR is actually better for the 7 caverns because you were carrying a lot of plant equipment on the 1 and 2 that kind of skewed the model a bit for the 1 and 2. For all 7, it's a lot better. So we're still thinking.
Are you in discussions with different suppliers?
We
funders?
are. We've got 3 or 4 banks involved that we're in detailed discussions with. We've got term sheets for the debt. It's looking like it may end up a 50-50 debt equity split. It's kind of where the vibe's going. So look, within the next 2-3 months, I think we should have that tied up. It may be sooner, but hey, it's all about not over-promising and under-delivering. It's all about do what we say we're going to do.
My final Ireland McGee question, the EU grant, where's that? Where are you with that?
It's about as clear as Brexit.
Oh dear.
Now, look, I think we've submitted what we need to submit. There's various stages of audit and verifications processes that need to go through. I was across there a couple of weeks ago, and we're hitting straight bang in the middle of the EU holidays at this time. The EU effectively shuts down. So unfortunately, I think we're caught up in the holiday shutdown period. But look, the grant is approved. There's no issues of whether the money will come or won't come. The grant is 100% been approved. The invoices that have been submitted is for work completed and work for feed reports that have been sent to the EU. So it is really a process of just going through verifying the invoices. And then that.
What's your vibe though? Do you think it is going to happen at some point and it's just a question of when?
Oh, absolutely. I don't see any reason at all. And I actually asked that question when I was in Europe of, is there any issues? No, there's no issues. You just have to wait on the process, Mr. Wood, was the answer I was given.
Any sense from them of a timeline from their perspective?
I think realistically where we'll get to is September is where I'm thinking in the current timeline.
Okay, so they said September or you just feel September?
I think I asked the question, I asked August and got a wrinkled up face. I asked September and got a fairly smiley face. So I'm taken out of that by September,
They're back from their holidays in September.
Absolutely. So I'm hoping by the end of September.
So it'll be October or November then?
Well, look, I think as long as the money's guaranteed and we know it's coming,
so be it.
We're quite happy, I'm
with you. That's your priority. The priority is that it happens.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's turn to the FSRU project in Barrow-in-Furness. This is new and exciting. I've not heard about this before. So what exactly is an FSRU? And tell me the fundamentals of the project. Tell me the basics of why it's a good idea.
Well, I think you look at an FSRU, why you'd even want to talk about one to begin with. You look at the UK gas market, and 30% of the future gas revenue in the UK at the moment is projected to come from shale over the next 10 years from the National Grid 10-year statement. At the moment, we've got 4 shale wells, one of which is delivering a trickle, and with the government energy policy, we see no way that shale's going to catch up with the demand that's going to be, which leaves a great big hole in the market. Now, one of the key important things here, it's not us that's pushing this. We've got other people that are pushing us to look at the project. Traders see this hole in the market. They see LNG is going to be a way to get things moving in the UK market fairly quickly.
And they're looking for a way to bring the liquid petroleum gas into the UK.
Absolutely.
So what is this Barrow-in-Furness port, this gas port?
Well, what you've got, an FSRU, just to answer your first question really, it's floating regasification and storage unit. So you're actually bringing LNG from overseas into a floating structure 12 miles off the coast of the UK, regasify it on board, and then it goes back and ties into the UK national grid.
And it gets piped in from 12
It
miles
does.
offshore?
Yes. Now, what you've got is the next wave of LNG new contracts is coming in 2023, 2024, in that kind of window. So the view is this project will come in around that area, around that time scale.
Now, there's a name Meridian in there involved in this project. Who are Meridian? I'm not familiar with them.
There is. Now, what they've been as a project sponsors up to now, they've gone through, applied for planning. It's very advanced in the planning in detail. You'll recall when we spoke probably about 6 months ago, I mentioned we were looking at a costing study, looking at an FSRU project. Now, that would have been a project starting from ground zero, and you would have 5 years of permitting and planning before you move forward. The beauty about this project is they're actually 6-7 years further down the line from where we'd be starting from scratch. So the planning, the permitting, the outline consents and everything like that are all in place. So it should be...
Which is a big deal.
It's a massive deal, to be fair.
Well, it saves you 6 or 7 years.
Look, it really excites us given how far along it is. And obviously,
so what are the gaps in this project then, and what do you have to supply?
Well, I think really where we've got to now by signing the period of exclusivity, we're looking to go and do a few full due diligence to make sure we're happy with what's available. Once we've done that, we're looking to get the offtake partner who's expressed a lot of interest in this project. And to be fair, we approached this project because of a specific request from an offtaker for the project of that magnitude. But since we announced it, we've had approaches of three, 4 others. So look, I think it's one of those things that we get the due diligence done, we tie it up with an offtake. There's not a lot of cash involved for us in this early stage. But don't forget, this is not a project for today that's going to take a whole load of time and energy today. This will be a project that will work through over time and should slot in nicely towards the end of Ireland McGee Energy. Okay, the worry for me as an external person would be thinking, can you actually cope with 2 major projects on the go at the same time? Well, I think you look at 2 major projects on the go. We've got Ireland McGee Energy, we've got trusted partners that we've been using involved in that. We've got the tender that we've been out to for who's going to construct Ireland McGee. Again, going forward, they'll really deal with the construction and building of that contract. We'll deal with the supervision of that contract. Whereas when we look at the FSRU project, we believe there'll be a lot more involvement from the off-taker coming in to provide some support and assistance into that project. So we see the team we've got, we are looking to expand it slightly, as was always the plan as we move forward. But we don't see a major drain on our resources. So you're not worried about management stretch? There's only so many of you guys. You're very able, but there are only so many Absolutely,
of you.
no, not really. I think, look, we're all mindful of who we need to bring in and who we need to use to do particular work streams. And I think we've been really good at taking a project that was, let's not forget, it was 10, 11 years in the making, and not a lot happening, to dealing with, I think at one point, with 40-odd work streams open.
Oh, you'd far rather have a lot happening. So look,
we've kind of contained that now. We've broken the back of this
project. The more you
do,
the more you achieve. That's a saying, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, fair enough. You're a hard-working Scotsman. Okay. The share price isn't happy currently, and you depend on that to get the Ireland McGee project over the line, or do you? I mean, how important is that share price in terms of just getting the darn project delivered?
Well, I think, look, given I've got so much personally invested that I bought on the open market, but around I bought some at these current levels, I prefer the share price to be higher. I think the share price is way undervalued given that we've got an offtake agreement in place now. But I think I've always said this is part of a long-term strategy that we're looking...
But the share price is going to be low if they're looking at you potentially hiving off shares into a new project. I mean, they just see that as dilutive that's all people in AIM see, is that they get shafted by the people who are running the companies, because they always dilute their shareholdings.
Yeah, but I think what you need to look at here, Donald, is the residual value in the PLC and the market cap in the PLC that will catch up with where we are eventually. I think when we bring equity into the IslandMagee project, it'll be done at project level. So the dilution will happen at project level. You then look at the FSRU project. As we move through, that will be done at the same place. We'd obviously...
You'll keep them separate, in other words?
They're completely separate. We'd like to encourage the offtaker on that particular project to come in with some of the equity. We think that's a fairly important sign, given the magnitude of the project, that they're coming in with some skin in the game in that. And early indications are that that's not off the table. So look, I think our market cap will catch up eventually. And, you know, back to your initial question, what's the long-term view? It's certainly to be in the hundreds of million market cap in 5 years' time, rather than wallowing about in the bottom where we are at the moment. And I think it's all about delivering and carrying on, ticking off each part of the box. And I think, do I worry about the share price on a daily basis? No. I think we need to worry about delivering the things we've got to deliver about to make sure.
Just very briefly, let me ask you about some parish pump stuff. Where are you with the new chairman, and why a new broker?
New broker? You've obviously been listening to market gossip. I mean, look, we're out looking at our business needs.
Chat boards. I've been listening to chat board gossip, but that's fair.
We're out looking at what our business needs are. We're looking at alternatives to see how we can be best served, just the same as we've done with legal providers. We've changed a set of legal providers, Field Fisher, that are more in keeping with what we need to deliver with the gas storage agreements and things like that. I think, look, we're looking at the bigger picture here for further down the line. We're down to one broker at the moment. Do we need to do anything on brokers? Hey, we're looking at what the options are. As far as the chairman goes, the recruitment process for that's underway. We're getting close to a short list now. We've got a long list at the moment. So hopefully by the autumn that will be in place and our new chairman will be joining us.
Okay, John Wood, CEO of InfraStrata, thank you very much indeed. An absolutely fascinating chat. We ran out of time. That's no great surprises there, far too much to talk about. If you'd like to see more interviews like this one, please do subscribe to London South East. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.